All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, and Kakwadash, giving double honors to the apostles and elders of the great millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect, and shalom to all the brothers out here laboring in this truth with sincerity. Shalom to the few sisters that watch. It's your brother Radah, out of the GMS Atlanta camp, coming back with another lesson, going into the 12 tribes of Israel. This is who the scriptures, the Bible was written to and written for, despite what the world may believe. And what you see here is a sign, a chart, or a stick, according to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37. This is the stick that was mentioned. Because you have the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. And, in the last days, these kingdoms will be brought back together. They were broken up due to a split. And the northern kingdom came to the Americas, man. And all this is documented in the scriptures. So in the last days, the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom will come back together and be one stick. But, these are the tribes and who they are in relation to today. And we know it's all through the spirit, because you can't go off the outward appearance. It's based off if their spirit, understands and everything that's spoken of resonates with their spirit. So eventually, we're going to go through each tribe, Lord willing, and how, they are, in relation to the people on the right side of who they are today, But this right here is just a brief overview of who the scriptures are for. And that's the 12 tribes. So with that being said, we're going to get into the scriptures. So let's see. We'll go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, and get into this, where it talks about the stick. So we'll drop down, and it's going into the valley of dry bones, because in the last days, the people on that sign are definitely the dry bones. We lost our heritage through the scattering, through slavery and the curses. So we'll drop down to verse 15. It says, right here, it says reunion of Judah and Israel. And this is the tribes coming back together. We see that now. It's slowly happening. But, before this place is destroyed, it's going to happen at a great pace, and we're going to see, the tribes coming back together, man, and you're not going to be able to deny it. But this is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, verse 15. It says, the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto me, saying, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it. And that's the sign, that's this. This is a stick. It says, and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel and his companions. So when you go into Judah, that's the southern tribe. And when you go into Joseph and Ephraim, that's the tribe, kingdom, northern kingdom. As we see right here. So it says, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou show us what thou meanest by these, being out on the highways and hedges, man. These tribes will come up, So, and they're gonna inquire, like, what is this? Who are these people? What is what is this? What is this about? And verse 19. So this is a prophecy that's going to take place, and it is taking place now. It says, "Say unto them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahushai, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand." And it goes on, explaining, what the Lord would do, when the kingdoms come back together. He's going to wipe away the curses, bring you back into your own land. So these people that's over there in the land now, man, they have no clue of what's going on. If you ask them what's the stick about, they have no clue. The only tribe that they really mention is the tribe of Judah. They what about the rest of the 11? So they have no clue what's going on. But like I said, this is just a brief overview of who these scriptures are for and who the kingdom of heaven is really for. So let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 21. And we'll go to verse 10. New Jerusalem. This is kingdom of heaven, man. Tribes coming together and being in order. So it says, "And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from the Most High." It says, "having the glory of the Most High, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal." Verse 12, it says, "and had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of Israel." So make no mistake about it, these scriptures are only, come on, man, are only for, these tribes: Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Simeon, Zebulun, Ephraim, Manasseh, Gad, Reuben, Naphtali, Asher, and Issachar, which comprise the 12 tribes of Israel. And these are the names that will be written upon the gate. But of course, in Hebrew, and we'll get into that, Lord willing, in another lesson. Brothers are in the spirit now, doing lessons on each tribe, as well as, I've done a lesson, but unfortunately I had to take it down because they had no sound. But, hey man, we're gonna get into it, and break it down. But from there we'll go to the book of Matthew, chapter 19. Because the world has been taught false doctrine, man, for a long time, and it has these people blinded to think this word is for them. And now with the preaching of the gospel, from 1969 up until now, with the leadership of Apostle Tahar on down, man, the truth is being revealed, and these people can see now that they don't understand what's going on. And as they understand, the unbelief rises. So eventually the Lord is going to come back and, set the record straight and destroy these people and set up the 12 tribes of Israel first and foremost, the elect of Israel. So let's go to the book of St. Matthew, chapter 19, and verse 27. It says, Then Peter answered and said unto him, speaking to the Lord, Behold, we have forsaken all and followed thee. What shall we have therefore? Salaki. Verse 28, it says, And Yahushua said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory. You go into the regeneration, that's reincarnation. Because, for the most part, the disciples are possibly here right now, preaching the gospel as we speak. So when the Lord come back, hey, it's a strong possibility they'll be here. So it says, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And those 12 thrones are going to be the same as the 12 gates in the kingdom, man. Clearly one representing each tribe. So, let's go into this word judging, because these people think that when the Lord comes back, he's with them, the heathen nations, that is. But we're going to see, what the word judging means as it pertains to the kingdom of heaven. So we're going to drop down to right here. It says to rule, govern. It says to preside over with the power of giving judicial decisions, because it has the prerogative of kings and rulers to pass judgment. So that's what judging means. And he spoke of ruling over and governing the 12 tribes of Israel, not the rest of these nations. They're going to be under rulership, but it's going to be a whole different rulership. They're going to be under a brutal rulership, and not only the 12 judges will judge them, or, the elect. Hey, everyone, everybody in the nation of Israel will judge the rest of these nations in the kingdom of heaven. If they get out of order. But this is speaking of the top tier right here, to rule over the 12 tribes as a whole. So to rule, govern, to preside over with the power of giving judicial decisions. So that's what that means. Judging the 12 tribes, it don't say nothing about these heathen nations, So let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 7. We're just going to drop down to verse 4. And this is speaking of the 144,000, the elect. 12,000 out of each tribe. This is that governing top tier body that will be ruling over the nation of Israel. So it says, And I heard the number of them which were sealed. There were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Of the tribe of Judah were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Reuben were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Gad were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Asher was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Naphtali were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Manasseh, sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Simeon, sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Levi were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Issachar was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Zebulun was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Joseph was sealed 12,000, and that represents Ephraim. Of the tribe of Benjamin was sealed 12,000. So this is who, will be sitting in the seats judging the nation of Israel. So verse 9, the Christians like to pull this out and say, everybody will be there, people out of every nation, the multitude, they don't have a clue of what's going on. You got to read in context. We just read that it was 12,000 out of each tribe of the tribe of Israel, that's going to be judging, the nation. So, and these are the people that will be standing before the judges. Verse 9, it says, after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, that stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robe and palms in their hands. So this is a simple way, to just prove what these people think. All you got to do is go into kindreds, and it'll tell you, kindreds. It says a tribe. In the New Testament, all the persons descending from one of the 12 sons of the patriarch Jacob. And that's what's being spoken of in this context of the scripture. Because this is strictly for the Israelites, man. At this point, these people really are just fighting the truth. They're fighting against the truth, and they losing, man. You have a small number of teachers, priests, speaking of GMS, from Apostle Hall down, that's beating these people to sleep, man. We're greatly outnumbered when it comes to this, comes to the scriptures. But the difference is we have the truth and we have the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua backing us. You got millions of so-called Christians out here, man. And for every million that come up, every million gonna lose when they come against this truth, man. That's how powerful this is. They can't disprove anything. They're fighting a losing battle. And that just shows you the greatness of the Lord. So now we're in the book of St. Matthew chapter 24. And let's see, we'll go to verse 21. It says, For then shall be great tribulation, such as was none since the beginning of the world to this time. No, nor ever shall be. And it's speaking of Jacob's trouble, the time to come. It says, except those days be shortened, there should be no flesh saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Who is the elect? These are the 144,000 that we just read about in the book of Revelation chapter 7. It says picked out, chosen. The 144,000 are a special group of people, predestined to be with the Lord, from the foundation. It says chosen by Yahweh Shem Yahushua to obtain salvation through Hamashiach. Right here you see it's going off. It says Christians are called chosen or elect of God, which is nonsense, man. It's speaking of the 144,000, 12,000 from each of those tribes that we read about. So, this is just a brief overview of the 12 tribes. And Lord willing, I can get into breaking down each particular tribe and going into how they relate to who they are as of today. So with that being said, Lord willing, this was edifying. We want to constantly give our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakakwadash. Shalom.